Today we present the first in a many-part series on Triad Wars 3 Round 3. 7 players are left. This round's going to be tougher, so there's very likely to be a lot of ties. So previously on Triad Wars, every person won their first round match, but in the second round we lost our first human, and now there are 7. We had repeat pairs of opponents. Piggy and Wavy and Dalamar and Bren faced the same opponents in both rounds 1 and round 2. Bren correctly called that he was the one who had the same opponent and that he had the same opponent as Dalamar. My pick for the game around 2 was either Wavy's win over Ultros or Piggy's win over Cypher. With a little more time to sit on it, I'm leaning towards Piggy's win, but I think both are fantastic. And Dalamar and Tezuka kindly helped me out in various ways during round 2. So on to round 3. If you win this round, you make it to the Icon stage, you're in the quarterfinals. This is the final round purely versus AI, right? The next round, humans are able to play each other. They each were put in their own eighth of the bracket and thus cannot face each other. So because this is the last round where you can face AI, there will be AI still in, but it's the last round where you necessarily will face AI. This is the round where the toughest level of AI are available to be played. Because if they weren't here, then they never would be, because then I can't just teleport one into the quarterfinals that wasn't in someone's bracket. So currently there are 9 AI left and 7 humans. In Triad Wars 2, humans prevailed thanks to Delial. Will that happen again? So potential quarterfinals matchups, we have Tezuka vs Wavy, Bren vs Turds, and Piggyman vs Chickeny. This is, should each of these pairs manage to both win, then we could see this matchup. Very good chance we won't see many, if any, of these matchups. This is going to be a very tough round. So our rule set is level 8. You can have no more than 2 9/9 corners. You could have more than that number of 9/9s in your hand, but they'd have to not be touching 9s. Max 2 9/8 corners as well. No rares and no cards with the same numbers. So if you have a 9/9 4/3, you cannot have a 3/4 9/9. Those are the same 4 numbers, but you could have a 9/9 4/2 to go with it. A few changes. One is I'm just going to show the games in the order they happened, so I'm going to be kind of recording as we go, so I won't know future results. I won't be trying to, make some later plot twist stick because I know it's coming. Instead, I'm just going to show games. I'm going to show them in batches of 5 to 7 games at a time. That might mean we end up videos of lots of decisive results. It might mean we end up with videos of lots of ties and just no decisive results to be had. I just want to show every game and talk about every game. If you don't like the format like this, let me know. I'll probably go back to the other, but this round there's going to be a lot of ties and a lot going on, and so I thought this would be a nice way to do it. At the end of each video, I'll recap who went through and who has made it through so far. So both who went through in this exact video and who has gone through prior. And what else? Oh, it was requested that I play FF8 music quietly in the background of my videos. I'm kind of scared of copyright strikes because I don't know if this is exactly counts as playing FF8 when I think you are allowed to do that. So I'm not sure. I've decided not to, but feel free to play FF8 music in the background through some other player. I also thought about, trying to find some tablature of some FF8 songs and playing them on my guitar, but I'm also not sure that's allowed, and I'm a bad guitarist. So we will move on to the round. First up, we have Tezuka vs Tiny Tina from Borderlands 2. This is Triad Wars 3 Round 3 Game 1. Tina goes first. Tina has the hand on the left. Tezuka has the hand on the right. Tina has a kind of standard-looking 4 corners and a utility card, while Tezuka has a 3 corners and 2 utility card hand. The 9-5-6-5 is clearly using that 5-6-5 to take back 9s, and the 5-7-6-7 has similar purposes. One thing I'll say is that so far in the games I've seen, humans have really frequently on this set gone for 3 strong corners, 9-9s, 9-8s, occasionally other things, and then 2 utilities. While the AI hands I put together are much more commonly 4 corners and 1 utility. And so I'm not sure what's favored there, but it'll be interesting to see how those match off. So Tina had first turn, and Tina went with the hands pretty clearly intended strong corner, ready to be plus walled back either way. Not easy for the hand to set up like a corner touching it or something like that the three corners videos would aspire to in a starter, but keep strong directional balance with three corners, a good utility card. And I think Tezuka, whose hand is really built to support kind of two starters, one is 9953 and 7, and one is 8369 in 9 as a sort of secondary starter that isn't taken back quite as well, but here really gives Tina's hand some difficulties because they don't have the capture from 8, and as Tezuka pointed out, they can't really set up the capture in 8. They don't have like a move in 5 with an 8 down to set up 9854 and 8, and they don't have a move in 7 that sets up something in 8. So he's pretty much safe from 8 forever. And so the only threat to him is in 6, and if they ever go in 6, he can combo back in 2 because he has their starter well under control with 3499. So I think this is a pretty high pressure response and difficult to deal with. I will say it's possible they can still block in 6, because if Tezuka then, something specifically with an 8 outwards, not something capturing the card in 9, because if Tezuka then goes in 2, they can go in 5, they've set up either same or plus there, and they might be able to hold that position. I'm not sure. I mean, it looks bad, but it might be a way out. Tezuka, of course, against a move in 6 could also go in 8 and has a number of options to apply pressure there. It's definitely a very high pressure spot, whatever they do. I'm just saying this because I've advocated blocking the in-between square, but here, when Tezuka has such good control of the starter, it seems pretty suspicious, but you might still be able to just about get away with it. Anyways, the AI makes a very strange move, but I think is quite interesting, which is A278 and 8. And I sort of like this as an extension of kind of in complex positions. We've seen a lot of moves, especially from Delial and Turds, just blocking a square that the opponent has good play in. Just getting rid of a card you don't really want in the hand. This doesn't direct well towards the game. It has no plus walls or anything on either of the cards that have been played. That maybe sets up some future stuff. 9854 potentially can play well off it, even if it can never take it. We're going to see that shortly. But really, most importantly, just blocks a square that Tina has no play in, and Tezuka does have play in. And just making sure this is never available to you. After some thought, looking at various ideas, I think primarily in 6 and 7, Tezuka ends up blocking 6, which makes a ton of sense. This is a reasonable card to use there too. 3499 you might want for its leftward 9 later, but also because it is your threat in 2, and so if you use it up already, you no longer have a threat in 2. 9953 has a lot of directional power to the right where the game's going to be, and is a weak number facing out, so it gives them a lot of options to deal with it. 5767 is probably another option to put there, but the idea of using kind of the least useful card you have in your hand makes a lot of sense, and it's also one that, I think this in 5767 flips 3, and so that can be comboed back. So this is the least useful card that doesn't give up a threat and doesn't get comboed back. Notably, 9953 is the only capture in 7, so that would also give up a threat because it's giving up so much directional power. But here I think Tina makes a nice move and actually obtains some initiative in this game, because the 9854 with so many 8s facing left, and also Tezuka's exact hand, is really dominant. Because if you think of like fill the square 5 in your head, and then say Tina goes 4993 and 1. That 9854 sweeps everything in Tezuka's hand, right? 3499 in 7 is the only card that merely gets taken rather than comboed. 9854 plus walls the upward 9 on 9953, it will same the 5 on 5767, and if underneath Tezuka's hands, cards, the 3499 and 4, it's going to same the 5767 and the 9953, it's going to plus wall. So there's a lot of lines here where just that card wins on the spot. It's an incredible endgame sweeper on this board. And in fact, Tezuka only has one tying move, which he does find. So Tezuka correctly plays 3499 and 5, and the key point is this stops 4993 and 1, because Tezuka can reply with the same, and so it doesn't matter that he's comboed back, he has samed and flipped too many things. And so it turns out 9854 is still a fantastic sweeper, and either of Tezuka's cards in 4 would be comboed, but Tezuka can end the game in 1 and get a tie. So I think a really interesting game, because I thought after the second move, Tezuka had some initiative, but after this really odd move in 8, I think Tino was the one actually playing with a little pressure. And, Tezuka comfortably found the tie. It's not to say he was in serious danger, but I actually think the move in 8 did a really nice job of turning the game around, and really peculiar, interesting move. But we can think about it in a bunch of ways and see maybe it needs all of these things coming together to be good, but they did come together, which is 1, this is a square you have and I never do, so I'm just going to get rid of it. 2, this 8 to the left really makes my 9854 just sweep your whole hand on the left side of the board. And 3, this 8278 has basically no play. So I'm blocking a square I have no play with a card I have no play, and setting up another card to be a sweeper later, and that ends up being strong enough that Tina gets some real pressure. So I think a very interesting game. And now we're going to hop to a new matchup, because this is the game that happens second, which is we have Piggyman versus Lenneth Valkyrie. This is Triad Wars 3, round 3, game 1. Lenneth goes first. But first, let's take a brief look at the hands. Lenneth with, I think, a very standard looking hand for this rule set, 2 9-9 corners opposites, 2 9-8 corner opposites, and an 8-7-6-5 kind of utility card that does not commit that much directionally to get a lot of balance in the hand. Piggy's hand, on the other hand, is kind of, I think, quintessential Piggy, and I was so pleased to see this from him. The idea is to put 5, 7, 7, 7, and 5, and then have the other cards play off its numbers, specifically using 9s, 7s, 5s. You'll notice the 7, 3, 5, 9 uses a 3, but a 3 with the 5 sort of plays sometimes as an extra 7, because where a 7 might same another 7 in the hand, the 3 can plus it. And the 9, 7, 4, 4 uses the 7 and 4s to be able to plus wall other 7s, which can also be useful. Just kind of using cards that clearly are not power cards on the level, except maybe the 8-7-6-5, but using them in ways that have high synergy and do interesting things. And it'll be fun to see how he handles it. So they start with 9, 3, 4, 9, and 9. And I think this is kind of a weakness of the AI, and I'm not quite sure how to fix it, which is they're really good at spotting safety, but they're not as good at spotting when they give the opponent setups in 5 against safe corners. And here Piggy almost immediately plays 5, 7, 7, 7, and 5, the move he wants to make against basically every opposing move, but specifically sets up really nicely against this, with 5, 5, 9, 7 hitting in 6, and 9, 7, 4, 4 hitting in 8. And you'll notice Lenneth's hand does not have both these angles covered. In fact, they don't seem to have either angle covered. And so whichever way Piggy captures... Sorry, they do, of course. They have 6 covered, 6, 8, 5, 7. For some reason, I was just looking at 8 and then looking at 8 some more. 6, 8, 5, 7 is 6 covered, but they do not have 8 covered. So if Piggy ever takes from 6, they could be in a lot of trouble. And I think their next move should be designed to deal with the 6 threat. So one move that sprung to mind for me was looking to set up a J in 2 specifically, so that because they don't have the recapture in 8, Pigs has a threat in 6, so they need to make sure threats in 6 are not strong. So one move I was thinking about for them was 4, 4, 8, 9 in 2, just to say if you go 6, I have a free square in 3, and this is something I can take back pretty well from 1 if needed. Though it does, give up safety, right? It looks like 5, 5, 9, 7, and 3 is just immediately safe. So it's going to be a tough game, right? But we want to make sure at least we don't get destroyed by a move in 6. There are probably other kinds of ways to deal with that, but I'm just saying that would be my kind of thought process, is what can I do to mitigate the damage from 6? Lenneth goes with another strong corner in 1, and this makes more sense given the card in 5, because 6, 8, 5, 7, for instance, can take it back both ways. But here, I think Piggy starts going a little astray, where he starts setting up more synergy, which the hand is designed to do, and is this really cool thing the hand does. But I think he should just play in 6 here, and I think that's probably enough to win this. 5, 5, 9, 7, and 6. there's just not really a good reply. They can't take it from 3 without being comboed. They can't go in 8, so they really have to try for something in 4 and hope their remaining sweepers are good enough. But if they go in 4, they can't go in 4 with something with a 9 up. So Piggy will always have big threats in 2, and as the second turn player, he's going to have first access to combos in squares like 2. They don't have the combo back. They don't have combos back in 8. I think 5, 5, 9, 7, and 6 should be a win here. And Piggy instead goes for synergy. But this is very high pressure too, because he sets up 5, 5, 9, 7 really well for 6. He still has a threat in 8. They can't really occupy squares near 9349 or 2995 because he has combos back both ways. So the only kind of safe-ish looking moves are 4, 4, 8, 9, and 2, and 8, 9, 3, 4, and 8 of squares next to them. And neither of those moves looks very appealing to make. They kind of give up a lot of ground, and that 9, 7, 4, 4 is going to be so good. It's just going to, if they go in, 1 of 2 or 6, Piggy can usually go in the other one, and 9, 7, 4, 4 is going to hit really hard in 4 or 8 at the end of the game. But I think they play a really nice move here, making sure not to occupy any of those squares and starting to set up some threats of their own. 6, 8, 5, 7 is now pretty good in both 2 and 4. Not perfect, but pretty good. And 8, 9, 3, 4 finally has a square it makes a threat in 8. And they're going to have to find a way. The tricky part of Lena's hand is 6, 8, 5, 7's good. The other 2 cards are kind of garbage. Have to find a way to get them to do something useful. And this uses up one while setting up the other. And I think that's just enough to manage the tie here. Piggy goes in 8. The 1 square 8, 9, 3, 4 is good. But because this doesn't flip 9, 3, 4, 9, not that Piggy made a mistake here, but just explaining the reasoning of how the game finishes, it means 8, 9, 3, 4 has a decent square it can go in, locking in the card in 9. And we get to a tie, but definitely one where I think Piggy, using kind of weaker cards, found a way to apply a ton of pressure, probably just winning out of the opening, and ends up not converting in a complicated middle game, going for one complex aesthetic option over another one. But I think there's a thing. I was thinking about this with rating various AIs and ranking them and ranking play versus AIs of kind of what's better? A player that makes no mistakes, a mistake being defined as something that misses a win or misses a tie, or a player but makes no mistakes but never applies any pressure and never, gets winning positions, or a player who applies lots of pressure, has frequent winning positions, but fails to convert them, and they might both tie. Which is the player you think's better moving forward? Is it the one who is precise but low pressure, or the one who is high pressure but imprecise? And I think probably the high pressure imprecise, depending on how big a sample of this you have, is probably the one you should bet on moving forward. Though I could be wrong on this. But I think this is to say Piggy built a really nice hand here, got a lot of pressure, and didn't quite find the conversion. Which brings us to game 2. So this time Piggy has first turn. I suspect you can predict his first move. I will also note the AI made a hand change. They had a 9-9 corner for 9, and they switched to an 8-2-7-8. Because I will be putting out this video after the round, I will say the general theme for AI hand changes was whichever card played worst in their hand, they will switch out for something else. And so here, the 9-9 corner was a really poor starter, so I switched it out for a very different kind of corner there. So Piggy starts in 5, and the AI again goes for a strong corner, but this is one Piggy has well covered, though notably, he has it well covered with different cards, right? He has 7-3-5-9 for 2, and he has 9-7-4-4 for 4. So he's really going to want to look to find another square. Each one of those are good, because you never want to be in the situation where you have 2 perfect cards, but you're on last turn and you have to use up one of them and they force you to go in the other square. So it can be really important for both those cards to find a second place they can be valuable. And this is why I think Piggy's next move is so excellent. I think Piggy makes a fantastic move here. I think it is the clear best move in the position. And it also exploits the fact that the opponent doesn't have that many 9s. because a 9-9 corner can be really strong, but it often should be paired with other 9s when the opponent has it covered, because you need to be able to play next to it without getting hammered by combos. So by putting pressure here, there's really only one card Lenneth can put in 2, and kind of no cards they can put in 4 if they want to play next to their initial starter. Also, we just set up our 7-3-5-9 to have a second really powerful square, and that's just so important, and a third really. Not a third, but it powered it up in 2, and it gave it 6 as well. So suddenly 7-3-5-9 has 2 squares it can dominate, and we just don't want to be left with 9-7-4-4 as our last card, but Piggy can in most lines block 4 before that happens. I think this is a phenomenal move for mainly the reasons we're about to get to, which is the opponent very reasonably plays 4-4-8-9 and 2, and now I certainly did not find this move while watching the game. Sadly, neither did Piggy because it's an awesome move, but blue to move and win. And the key is, we've been powering up the 7-3-5-9, but actually 9-7, the other 2 cards are our key cards for this winning variation, which is the excellent move which his hand is designed to do, is 7-3-5-9 in 9. And one point is, the opponent has no threat yet in our card in 3, so we don't have to worry about leaving 6 open. But the real point is that 9-7-4-4 is now fantastic in any of 4, 6, or 8. And if we can, we'll just go 9-7-4-4 and 8 next and 6 next turn, and 7-8-5-6 also just sweeps the opponent's hand, right? Anything they put in 8, it can take from 7. Anything they put in 4, except for 8-2-7-8, it can take from 7. But if they go there, when he plays 9-7-4-4 and 6 in reply, if they go 8-2-7-8 and 4, he goes 9-7-4-4 and 6. That flips 5, which combos 4, and he'll have taken that card anyway by the time it matters. 7-3-5-9 would have been a really cool move here. But again, it's something where Piggy's hand really clicked. He found really high pressure moves. He played an awesome move in 3. He found like the absolute maximal value from the position, and then doesn't quite find the right conversion here. He ends up going in 4, which again makes sense, right? The 9-7-4-4 has 1 square. It's probably not going to play as well as the other cards if we don't set it up further, but just on the board as it is. So using it, taking the square, locking in a second a locked-in card on the top row. This is very high pressure. They can't meet it with 8, 9, 3, 4, and 7 because we just plus wall that back with 7, 8, 5, 6. They can't take it with 6, 8, 5, 7 because we plus it back with 7, 8, 5, 6. You can see that 7, 8, 5, 6 is a really good sweeper in that bottom left area. But they can manage a tie with 8, 2, 7, 8, and 7. And we end up with a tie. So another game where I think Piggy's hand really clicked. I really like his hand construction. It uses offbeat cards, and he showed how to get just huge pressure early with it 2 games in a row. And both games made very reasonable moves when there was this very narrow path to conversion, and he doesn't quite find it. And so I think a really interesting story of clearly outplaying the opponent and not quite able to get wins out of it so far. And we move on to game 3, because Piggy, last night we played a bunch of games, and we move on to game 3. We will return to Tezuka this video, by the way. So Piggy goes first. Piggy switches his hand, which I thought was a curious decision, given that he got a lot of pressure out of it. But maybe he didn't know how close he was to winning, though I think he did based on his commentary. So here he starts with 4, 9, 8, 5, and 1. You'll notice this time he's again gone for kind of 3 corners, 2 utilities, with 2 9, 9 corners, a 9, 8 corner, an 8, 7, 6, 5, and a 7, 8, 7, 4, clearly designed to take back one of the 9, 9 corners and the 9, 8 corner. 7, 8, 7, 4s are interesting card types. There's not many of them, I don't think. So I think maybe 7, 4, 7, 8 is the only one available. I think 8, 7, 4, 7 is a quest card, which you are allowed to use, though I don't have in the official database. But I think there's no 7, 8, 7, 4 or 4, 7, 8, 7. But an interesting card choice, and it was nice to see some variety with it getting used here. Again, Piggy is a creative hand maker. Leneth makes a move that kind of baffles me a bit here, 8-9-3-4, because 7-4-7-8 is now so good in all of 2, 4, and 8. And again, if you don't have that many nine cards in your hand, it can be hard to play next to a strong corner when the opponent has combos on it. So if Leneth wants to at some point go safely in 4 or 8 without getting hit hard, they probably have to use 4-4-8-9, or I guess 2-9-9-5 and 4 also works. But they have kind of limited options for now how they play around their sort of starter. So I think that puts them in a difficult position already. And Piggy considers two moves here. He says, 2-4-9-9 feels safe, but I might need its power later. And 9-9-3-4 also feels really secure, though maybe they can just go an 8 and they'll be fine. And I think in the past games I should have mentioned well, no, ignore me. So he's between these two moves, 2-4-9-9 and 3 and 9-9-3-4 and 4. And I think both apply pressure, but I think 2-4-9-9 and 3, the pressure it applies is kind of vague. There's not an obvious square to go in. There's only a few paths that aren't disastrous. You have to be very careful. While the option he goes with 9-9-3-4 and 4, I think gives a clearer path to how to navigate these waters, which is kind of, can I set up an L? Does that give me a threat in 5? If so, I'm probably in good shape. And indeed, they can set up in 5, and now I think it's Piggy who has to be pretty careful, because 4-4-8-9 and 5 is a pretty big threat, and Piggy correctly identifies, I have to block 5. Takes a 6-4 lead. They go in 9, that's safe, and again, Piggy has to be a little careful, but manages his way to a tie, noting that 7-4-7-8 is a pretty good sweeper here. 2-9-9-5 in 3 in 2 or 3 at combos. So to find a tie, they have to play 4-4-8-9. Not that they're going to miss it at this late a date, but a powerful card for the top row to make sure Piggy has the tie here. And so we tie game 3. We're getting tired of ties yet, because there might be more coming. We move on to game 4. This time Leneth is first turn. Piggy changes his hand again. And again, he goes with 3 corners and 2 utilities, the utilities being the 8-7-6-5 and the 7-5-7-6. Interestingly, we're seeing another 9-7 corner come out, which he handled very nicely in the first 2 games. And Leneth in the last game swapped out whatever their top 1-5-6-7-8, I think, for a different 5-6-7-8, and has now swapped out the 8-9-3-4 corner for a 9-8-5-4, which we saw work really well against Tezuka. So here, Leneth is first turn, goes with 8-2-7-8 and 9, which is a hand Piggy's prior hands might not have been that comfortable at taking 8s. Though maybe they would, because 7-3-5-9 obviously handles 8s phenomenally well. So maybe he was always set up to meet moves like this. But 7-5-7-6 sort of discourages this. And when I was looking at this, I was thinking, can Piggy just take that? And 7-5-7-6 and 6, if they want to recapture with 2-9-9-5, Piggy can combo that with 7-9-4-5 from 7, and that looks like it'll take a miracle for Leneth to survive. That looks like a very uncomfortable position. They do have the combo in 5 with a 4-4-8-9. They can plus in 5 combo things back. But I thought there was something big there. So what's the line? Okay, 7-5-7-6 and 6, 2-9-9-5 and 8, 7-9-4-5 and 7, 4-4-8-9 in 5. I want it to be 2-9-8-6 and 1, setting up the same in 2, but it doesn't also set up a threat in 4, so that might not be enough. Anyways, we don't need to explore that line, but that's what I was looking at when playing. But Piggy sees it's actually weak to be recaptured the other way, and finds a much cleaner way to do this with 7-9-4-5 and 8. And just the point being, if you recapture with 2-9-9-5 and 6, I have the same in 5, and that looks absolutely terrifying for you. So it puts immediate pressure again on Leneth, really good early game pressure from Piggy, and Leneth finds this really creative option with 9-8-5-4 in 2. And this move's tricky, right? It sets up a plus in 5 with 8-5-6-7, so that they don't have to take back with 2-9-9-5 and 5. And so if Piggy plays a card in 6, sort of trying to lock in his cards, they should go in 5. They will play 8, 5, 6, 7, and 5. Piggy gets 3 for free, but they'll have 5, 8, and 9. And I think they have just about good enough cards, especially with that 2, 9, 9, 5 coming later, to get a 5, 5 tie on that left side. Probably play something like 4, 4, 8, 9, and 7 after cards are put in 6, 5, and 3. And then 2, 9, 9, 5 should capture enough at the end to get a tie there. So creative defense here, given a really, I think, difficult position where they sort of have to make a faraway move and hope it works. So I think Piggy's best option here is probably 2, 9, 8, 6, and 3. Just grabbing safety and saying you also can't really occupy 6 because I have 5, 6, 7, 8, and 5, which is the same. And maybe that, if you can't occupy 5, you can't occupy 6. You don't want to go in 5 yet because now, unlike lines where I blocked 6, I haven't blocked 6, so I can go in 6 there and also grab the card in 9. I think that's the best try, and probably winning again. Piggy instead says sames are his fetish, goes for 5, 6, 7, 8, and 5, and this is also really tough to meet. Anything in 1 or 2 is swept up by 7, 5, 7. Sorry, in a 3 or 6 is swept up by 7, 5, 7, 6. So they really have to look to Z's or T's here. And the Z's aren't that appealing. Sorry, I had looked at all the games and had thoughts about each, but now I'm looking at them again and forgetting everything I thought about. But something like 2, 9, 9, 5, and 1 is just comboed immediately. Something like 8, 5, 6, 7 leaves you with no upwards power whatsoever. So 4, 4, 8, 9, and 1 looks like the only option for an S that's not just on the face of it kind of horrible looking. And I suspect 9, 3, 4, 9, and 7 is winning there. That looks winning to my eyes. So they end up going for a T, and specifically they don't want to give up the card in 8, so they have to capture it, which does give up potentially the best card in their hand, but 8, 5, 6, 7 has a plus wall in 3, and 4, 4, 8, 9 has some serious down power. Piggy goes 9, 3, 4, 9, and 4, and gives it an exclamation mark as finally I broke through, but actually they just about snuck out a tie. They make sure to flip the card in 2. Piggy now only leads 6-4, and he doesn't have a recapture in 3, and 4, 4, 8, 9 is going to take a last card. So phew, we have now tied 4 games. That is as far as we are in the Piggy-Lenneth matchup. No decisive results yet. Interesting games. I think Piggy did a great job creating pressure, and in positions where there were kind of lots of attractive options and only one really, really decisive one, kept picking something that was high pressure but not quite enough. And this is something talked about a lot in chess, where it's a lot easier to have a position where there is one promising move or 2 promising moves and you can just compare them or just play the one promising move, than a position where there are like 5 promising moves and you spend time on each and it's really hard to discern which one is better than the others. And I think that was something happening here. But I also think I can definitely point to moves in these games where Piggy missed wins. Though he missed wins with 5, 6 moves left, very hard to calculate out the game there. But I can also say he's creating winning positions or close to winning positions at this incredibly high rate. And if he keeps doing this, he's going to win the match. But it will be curious if he starts getting not as good positions, how he handles that, and if he can be precise enough there. So I think we're in a really interesting spot in the Piggy matchup where his hands have worked really well. He's created really good early pressure. His opening play has been phenomenal. And just this slight lull in the middle where he always picks a good but not great option. So now we come back to the Tezuka matchup. We're in game 2. Tezuka goes first. Tezuka has made a slight change to his hand. He flipped out 1, 8-7-6-5 for another one, I think. I'm now forgetting what his initial hand was, but the 5-8-7-6 is new. And Tina has changed her corner for the top right. It was a 9-9 corner to a 9-8 corner. That might have, because the 9-9 corner Tezuka responded to really nicely on his starter. So trying one that might be a little more difficult for him to meet, for instance, the 8-3-6-9 in 9, if Tina starts with 6-2-8-9 and 3 at some point, will no longer set up a plus in 6. So just making sure there's a little less synergy in the opponent's hand. Tezuka has first turn this time, and he goes with 9-9, 5-3, and 7. A move that Tina's hand has really well covered. They have multiple moves in 8. They have one move in 4. They have 3 moves in 8, actually. They have one move in 4, and kind of gives a free hand to do whatever they want. And I think the most important thing is to try to stop Tezuka from having ways to set up one card multiple ways. So 5-8-7-6 goes in 4. Can it be set up to go in 8? Sort of, by 5-7-6-7. So maybe we should block 9 to make sure that doesn't happen. And Tezuka has 5-7-6-7 for 8. Can that be set up to go in 4 as well? No, it can't. So I think if I was playing this position, I would sort of think slight bias to blocking 9 over playing in other squares. The AI goes for 6-2-8-9 and 3, which makes a ton of sense too. It is a supported corner. It is one Tezuka can take pretty well from 2, but he can't take it from 6. He's used a lot of his upward power. So it is a hard corner for Tezuka to handle with. It uses up a capture card for 8, but Tina has 2 more. So I think Tezuka has to be a little careful here, but he actually sort of thought the opposite. He thought, against some of the moves I want to make, 6-2-8-9 is a critical setup for them. Either going in 5 or setting up another card, or having another card go in 5 that sets it up against my intended play of 8-3-6-9 and 9. So this is actually a card he really wanted to see out of their hand, and he has to be careful to make sure he keeps certain cards to recapture his starter. But otherwise, he felt this was, against his hand, one of the better cards they had, and was happy to see it gone. And he goes 8-3-6-9 and 9, which was clearly his sort of intended follow-up. 5-7-6-7 is really good in 8. Has a nice capture in 6 with the 9 facing out that's going to be hard for the opponent to deal with. I think all in all, after an opening move that looked vulnerable to me, right, his hand's built to do it, but Tina's hand is also really well built to reply, ends up turning the game nicely in his favor here with this move in 9. Tina, for the second time, makes a sort of odd move in 8. And now the position looks phenomenal for Tezuka. And he thinks a bit, but, he's just looking for other options, just making sure 5-8, 7-6, and 4 screams to be played, and he eventually does it. Going up 6-4, and this position looks like absolute garbage for red. 5-7-6-7 is a really good sweeper on the top row, right? Because of the 6-2-8-9, it can handle opposing 9s. It innately can handle opposing 8s. So it can sweep everything on the bottom row. So in lots of lines, any move in 5 or 6 basically can be met with 3-4-9-9 in the other of those squares. And 5-7-6-7 is going to just win the game. Moves in 1. What's going in 1? And so this position just looks really terrible for Tina. But finds a really nice save. The only saving move, I think, with 5-6-7-8 and 2. Setting up 4-3-9-9. To be good in both 1 and 5. Also 9-8-5-4 is set up for 1. And this is just enough to scrape out a tie, because 4-3-9-9 and 5 is a really serious threat. Tezuka ends up blocking 5. They flip a card. He doesn't. And we have another tie. Are we on 6 ties in a row? I think so. So we move on to game 3 of Tezuka's match. Tezuka came really close this one. I don't think there's anything better he could have done. I think his starter into his third move plan worked really well, got him a great position, and Tina was very lucky to survive this one. Tezuka has another first turn. He stays with the same hand. Tina swaps out the 8-2-7-8, so will not be making a weird move in 8 with the 8-2-7-8 again this game, for a 9-4-6-7, which similarly gives coverage of 9, 9, 5, 3, and 7, but also gives some coverage of 8, 3, 6, 9, and 9. So I thought was a useful switch for them to make. Tezuka this time decides to vary it up, go with 8, 3, 6, 9, and 9, but sort of saying what he was talking about last game. 6, 2, 8, 9, and 5 kind of sets up annoyingly well against his 8, 3, 6, 9, which is why last game he was so happy to see it out of their hand. Because 9, 8, 5, 4 now has 8, and 9, 4, 6, 7 has 6 really well. And Tezuka doesn't have both squares so cleanly, right? 3, 4, 9, 9, and 6 is a really good card for 6 if the outfacing side is 5, but if the outfacing side is 3, it's not a very comfortable way to recapture. And 5, 7, 6, 7 or 5, 8, 7, 6 are both cards that can go in 8, but they don't have any way to really address 5 or combo off 5's numbers. And so he thought this was a really dangerous position. He took a bit to try to find something, I think, clarifying, some way to make it to safety. And I think his reasoning ended up being, I don't have 6, so I want to incentivize 6 to be occupied. Or play a line that will lead to 6 being occupied before the kind of absolute endgame, the last 4 moves. And also, I think 5, 7, 6, 7 is going to play really well against their hand, and I want to make sure the game is oriented in a side-to-side fashion where 5, 7, 6, 7 will play. And the sort of, I think, way to push for this is what he did, which is to go in 4. And 5, 7, 6, 7 sweeps the bottom row mostly, and the stuff it can't take can be taken by his other 2 cards, either of the 9, 9 corners. So it would be hard for the opponent to go in 1 or 2. Then maybe they should just go like 9, 8, 5, or sorry, not 1 or 2, 7 or 8. Maybe they should just go 9, 8, 5, 4, and 7, because Tezuka can't really take that immediately. Though maybe he can, because if you look at the combo, right, 9, 8, 5, 4, and 7, 3, 4, 9, 9, and 8, 9, 4, 6, 7, and 6 combos everything, but 5, 7, 6, 7, so 5, 7, 6, 7, and 3 combos back because the card in 6 flips 5, so that flips 8, so that flips 7. But then 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 has the combo. So maybe, I'm not sure how this all works. Definitely messy. Not sure where that line goes. There's probably something there. But Tina goes for safety, and this was sort of Tezuka's plan, is he thought this was the likely move. Now he can block 6, a square he doesn't want, and hopefully 5, 7, 6, 7 sweeps. They took safety with Ifrit, 4, 9, 9, 3, and 1, but it also was the one card 5, 7, 6, 7 doesn't really handle well, and so now the rest of the hand it covers well. But important to put the right card in 6. We don't want to use 5, 7, 6, 7. It's our sweeper. We don't really want to use 9, 9, 5, 3 because that gives them combo potential, because that does overpower 5, so those combos could be really dangerous. So chooses 3, 4, 9, 9, and 6, and I think navigates here well to a tie. And we'll play out the last few moves. Ooh, I'm getting tired with this video. I'm sorry. I feel like I should have given better commentary, but this was a lot of games to get through, and I knew in advance all of them were going to be ties. So we had ties galore. I think the first game Tezuka played was interesting and pretty balanced, where it looked like he had some initiative, but their weird move in 8 kind of turned it around and balanced the game out. In Game 2, he was definitely pressing, and I think they were very lucky to survive. While in Game 3, he faced a bit of pressure and handled it quite smoothly and made his way to a tie. Piggyman, on the other hand, pressed really hard in 3 of his 4 games, and I think was much closer to actually winning, but also... And Piggy has talked about how he doesn't think his strength is calculation, so he makes these hands with a ton of synergy to kind of have everything worked out as nicely and cleanly as he can in advance, to have all these ideas ready to go, so he doesn't actually have to be finding it all during the game. And I think we saw that here, especially with the first hand he made, that he put together this tremendous hand, got huge initiative against much more generic and standard hands. So I was really happy to see those games because they seemed to me like peak Piggy performance. But it is a shame that he didn't bring the conversions home. In the first one, he went for sort of the complex option when the The more simple logical path I think was better. In the second game, he went for a simple logical path when the complex setup move was better. So one of those things where it feels very close to coming through, puts a ton of pressure. And again, achieving pressure is worth a lot of value in how good a player is. But wasn't able to convert. So far, no human is yet advanced. There was one AI matchup. The winner of that has been determined. In this round, with our 7 ties in this video, we've already had as many ties as in the entire first 2 rounds. No idea if that will continue. I kind of hope not, because it would be nice to have videos with at least one decisive result for each video. We have 7 matchups to complete. We got to get some non-ties at some point. But an exhausting start, I think, for all of us. For me watching and then recording this video, for them having to play it. But I think interesting games. How long has this video gone? 45 minutes, jeez. So I'm going to probably make videos of fewer games in them in the future. Hope you enjoyed these games. They were definitely interesting games, and I sort of wish I'd been able to give them more detail. We just have so many games to get through. Cheers.